Well, it looks like we're going back onto the PlayStation 2 of all things. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Blaze the Cat here, and I am from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our new Let's Play, because, potentially speaking of, we are going back into a SpongeBob SquarePants game, because we originally decided able to actually tackle through the most recent game at the time, not only for the likes of the phones of the PlayStation 4, but as well as multiple platforms as well, which appears to be SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. But since after all we're still on 2024, this means about the fact that we can able to celebrate the 20th anniversary of not only the movie tie-in game, but as well as based off on the movie itself, which for those who have seen the SpongeBob SquarePants movie back in 2004, I would seriously able to actually recommend that film, potentially speaking now, although we'll explain more details about that particular topic until whenever we dive into this game in particular, because as you can see, yes, welcome to our new Let's Play in terms of our channel, as well as the next SpongeBob SquarePants video game. And this time we're going into a movie tie-in game, as I mentioned this earlier. That's what appears to be the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Released in 2004 for not only for the PlayStation 2, but as well as Nintendo GameCube and Xbox. And there's also two other versions of this particular game in general, which appears to be the PC version and the Game Boy Advance version, which, straight to the point though, we'll talk more about the other two versions once we dive into this game in particular. I mean, after all, about the fact that, like I stated before, we can able to actually celebrate the 20th anniversary of not only for this game in particular, but as well as the movie that was based on, which as a result for that matter though, and every once in a while though, is about the fact that you might able to realize about the fact that, as you can tell, there's no SpongeBob theme song this time around, because as far as I'm aware, thank goodness we don't have to worry about the phones that copyright blocked kind of stuff and stuff like that. Well, mind you, about the fact it has been about quite a few hours since I actually have last did my recording session, but either way, now if you couldn't tell already, similar to the forms of how it does on the previous SpongeBob Let's Plays in the past, ranging from 2020 and 2022 respectively, I believe no matter what though, is about the fact that if you couldn't tell already, the version we're going to be playing on is of course the PlayStation 2 version, because we've already experienced two of those SpongeBob games in the past, ranging from SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, alongside with the remake for the PlayStation 4, which appears to be Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, and overall though is about the fact that we attempt to go for the, the PlayStation versions in particular, so I think about the fact that we might as well do the same thing for the sake of SpongeBob SquarePants movie game, because after all though, if you ever experienced the forms of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom before, well, you feel right at home, especially concerning for the fact that thanks to Heavy Iron Studios, it's once again going to be involved in this. So either way though, although we'll explain more details about the forms of the actual gameplay mechanics in this game until whenever we dive into the very first stage in the game, which does manage to take place in, let's just say, a dream sequence, which, as you can tell, the first level we're going to be dive into is no cheese. So, gee, that might be a little bit more familiar, doesn't it? So either way, let's hop in.
Welcome to our little tale of woe, triumph against impossible odds, terror, and managerly responsibility. Our story begins in the calm waters above the town of Bikini Bottom. As we descend beneath the waves, we find another day. Wait a minute! Hold your seahorses!
I can't believe this is happening here!
It's horrible!
Whew. Thank Neptune, my manager's here!
Talk to me, Krabs.
It started out as a simple order. A Krabby Patty with cheese.
So what went wrong?
When the customer took a bite, no cheese! Ah, this has never happened before!
Get a hold of yourself, Eugene. I'm going in.
And so here we go, and I've honestly have no idea what's going on with my analog stickers decides to drift all of a sudden. But here we go, folks. Here's the forms of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game, specifically for the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox. Because the reason why I say that is because, much like the forms of how it does it for Battle for Bikini Bottom, depending on what version of the game you're playing on, either on the console version, or the PC version, or the Game Boy Advance version, the entire gameplay mechanics are a lot different between each other when it comes to multiple versions. So, and as far as I'm aware, like I said this before, the focus we're going to be focusing on in terms of whatever version we're going to be playing through is of course the PlayStation 2 version because, well, straight to the point though, if you ever played Battle for Bikini Bottom already for the PlayStation 2 version, the controls are very simple and it's also very identical and all that stuff. However though, there are specific changes though you might able to actually realize, like for instance, we can able to actually keep on collecting those little weights as collectibles, which we'll talk more about in a moment. And speaking of which though, similar to the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom game, every once in a while though is about the fact that if you come across into an enemy encounter for the first time, you're able to actually see the actual cutscenes of how to deal with them and stuff like that. So, and also we can able to utilize the tongue to able to slide down these little slide segments once again. And this time around though is about the fact that unlike the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom though, basically the entire progressioning for the likes of this game in particular is now much more linear as opposed to this open world kind of gameplay than the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom. So this means about the fact that there's no hub world if we manage able to complete the stage, so I'm pretty sure about the fact that we can simply move on to the next stage after we're done with this basically. So either way though, and also as far as I'm aware, that the actual weights we're going to be keep on collecting, if you couldn't tell already from the top right corner of this particular screen, basically the more you're trying to collect those specific weights, basically though, this will grant you a level up. So this means about the fact that in order to actually just try to able to complete everything in this whole entire game, not only as you can tell that we somehow already collected the very first treasure chest in the game, but on top of all that stuff though, we do need to able to collect a certain amount of those weight points. So as a result though, if you do somehow reach for about, let's just say for about 250 weight points, then obviously though you can able to actually choose whatever level up you want to upgrade. So generally speaking though, yeah, I will discuss more about that if we somehow manage able to make our way to the next level or something. So because of that though, for the most part, no cheese is very simple and easy level, because obviously though is about the fact that you have to simply make your way to the very end of the level, like going from point A to point B, and that's all there is to really think about it. So yeah, as you can see, we actually got ourselves a level up right there, so this means we can able to choose whatever parts we want to choose to upgrade. Like for instance, we can now able to upgrade the karate chops, and as a result though, we can now able to perform enhanced version of the karate spin. So yeah, potentially speaking, I was about the fact that think of like the forms of the similar attack from the likes of in Battle for Bikini Bottom, which appears to be the jellyfish net or something like that. So, or a bubble wand in general. Well, mind you, it's been about 2 years ago since we actually did last done the SpongeBob SquarePants Let's Play game, since, you know, Battle for Bikini Bottom rehydrated for the PlayStation 4. However, though, unlike the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom, though, the movie tie-in game does not receive a remake treatment, which is kind of sad, honestly, because I'll admit it though right away, it's about the fact that between both of those games in particular, both Battle for Bikini Bottom and the SpongeBob movie game for PS2, GameCube, and Xbox, those games are pretty dang good, from what I've heard about it, although it does have some issues from time to time, but regardless of everything else though, it's about the fact that, well, we'll stay tuned for more parts about this until whenever it gets to the point in the later days to come, especially concerning for the fact that, well, for those of you who don't know, actually I'll get to more in a second, because as you can tell, as soon as we made our way to Krusty Krab itself, basically we get ourselves the Goofy Goofer token. So yeah, this game's equivalent to golden spatulas.
Who are you?
I'm the manager of this establishment. Everything is gonna be just fine.
I'm really scared, man.
You got a name?
Phil?
Come on, Phil, stay with me. I've only got one shot at this. Gotta have the right tools for the job. Bingo. Now I want you to do me a favor, Phil.
What?
Say cheese. The beginning. A little yellow friend awakes from his slumber and prepares for the biggest day of his life. Yet, despite his dreams, he is not honored with the manager position of the new Krusty Krab 2. So he sulks off to drown his depression in ice cream at the local Goofy Goobers. Across the street, jealous of Mr. Krab's success, the diabolical Plankton hatches Plan Z. He steals King Neptune's crown and frames Mr. Krabs for selling it to the far-off and dangerous land of Shell City. Let us now join our heroes in the midst of their self-pity.
Alright, so it looks like we're going on to the next level in this game, and that's what appears to be I'm Ready Depression, which as a result though, yeah, as I said this before, is about the fact that once we do manage to complete the stage, I believe we're about to jump straight into the next stage immediately without any hub wells to be found, so I guess that's not that big of a deal.
Hey, buddy, come on, wake up.
Huh? Where am I?
It's 8 in the morning. Closed. Go collect your friend and get out of here.
Hey, buddy! Come on up here and join the party!
SpongeBob!
And then, we somehow were able to actually take control of Patrick all of a sudden, which is especially noticeable concerning for the fact that, again, just like the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom game, basically though, we can able to actually take control of multiple characters. However though, unlike in Battle for Bikini Bottom though, I think there was only like 3 playable characters in that game, whilst in here though, as you can tell, we only going to be playing as 2 different characters this time around, and those 2 are questioning are both SpongeBob SquarePants, which we've already played as him on the very first level in the game already, and in addition to Patrick Star. Well, I totally get it why about the fact that Sandy Cheeks was not playable in this game, because, well, if you haven't seen the movie before, basically though, Sandy Cheeks gets a shortest runtime, especially concerning for the fact that she only appears in, well, let's say in the beginning portion of the film, when she was actually sitting right next to Mrs. Puff, for I've noticed, and during the film's the grand opening of Krusty Krab 2, and on top of that, she did appear at the very end, which I'm probably not going to explain more about that in a moment, because obviously though, this is still in the beginning of the game basically, so either way though, and thus not to mention though is about the fact that it's been donkey's years since I actually have last seen the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, because fundamentally speaking though, the first time I actually did manage able to watch the film was back in 2009, which I know it seems kind of strange, especially concerning for the fact that I was usually into SpongeBob at the time, since after all, back in 2009, to able to actually celebrate the 10th anniversary of the SpongeBob SquarePants universe, but still.
SpongeBob!
What's up, Patrick? You have got to try this new dot broom game.
Doug!
Where? Whoa!
Anyway, few things I want to talk about is, before we discuss upon the actual brief summary of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie itself, well, obviously if you couldn't tell already about the fact that today's date, of course, there is the 1st of November today, in some cases in 2024 today, so you know what that means, we are almost nearly at the end of 2024 before we move on to the final month in 2024, and that's of course December, but I suppose that particular topic can wait in a later time. So for now, let's just go ahead and try to able to actually take care of all sorts of things here and there, including certain secrets I would definitely like to check out, but I suppose there's nothing else around here, so let's just go ahead and continue.
Hey, it's you two again. I missed you guys.
And there's also another thing that's worth noting for, actually, and that's what appears to be for the fact that we actually got ourselves some quite a few interesting news I would like to point things out. That's what appears to be about the fact that out of nowhere, that Nintendo has just been revealed there's going to be an official app for Nintendo Music. So as a result though, yeah, it seems pretty cool to me though, especially concerning for the fact I can able to listen to all kinds of music based off from Nintendo titles at long last on the actual mobile phone regardless, especially concerning for the fact that it feels very similar to the forms of the music app, and on top of all that stuff though with Spotify. So generally speaking, I was about the fact I did manage to able to test that app out, and straight to the point though, I love every single aspect of it. Although it's a shame about the fact that much like the forms of how it does it for certain aspects when it comes to Nintendo nowadays, especially concerning for the fact that if you really want to experience the actual app itself, basically though you do need to sign in your Nintendo account, so just jump sure for the fact that you will miraculously try to able to utilize that particular app to begin with. So either way though, as you can see right there, Patrick does manage to able to have a similar ability as in Sandy Cheeks from the previous SpongeBob game, which is of course Battle for Bikini Bottom. That's what it appears to be for the fact that he can now use his tongue to able to actually attach to the ice cube, nor to able to actually go from one place to the other. So it's a very similar move for that regard, except the fact that there's no Texas icons, so this means about the fact that we won't be able to actually see certain Texas references from time to time, but oh well, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. And oh, hello.
Patrick, if you bring me more Goofy Goober tokens, I can grant you the cartwheel move.
Oh boy, I love whatever that move is.
You will. Just bring me more Goofy Goober tokens.
It seems pretty weird that how this Mindy pretty much knows Patrick at that point, especially unlike in the movie that she was firstly introduced in until when it gets to the point where SpongeBob and Patrick is actually onto Krusty Krab. But I suppose that particular topic can wait for that specific plot differences here and there, because as you can tell, we somehow obtained the next Goofy Goober token, which basically, as I stated before, this particular collectible is basically the equivalent to the golden spatulas from the last SpongeBob game, which is of course Battle for Bikini Bottom, and it functions kind of like the same thing as far as collectibles or the main plot MacGuffins as far as I'm concerned. But here's some little differences this time around though. Now normally in the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom, that in order to able to learn some more character moves and stuff like that, well, I'll explain more about that if we somehow manage to able to learn the first move for Patrick's star, which apparently is going to be a cartwheel spin. So either way though, so let's just go ahead and grab some more of those little weight items before we do anything, and I suppose that'll be enough for now. And oh, what the heck is this? It appears to be some sort of like a challenge panel, so
Okay, Patrick. Since you've brought me enough Goofy Goober tokens, you may now use the cartwheel move.
Time to spin? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy!
You'd better get going, Patrick. There's lots to do.
well, thanks, Mindy. But before we get to that, though, let's just go ahead and interact with this particular challenge panel. And suffice to say, though, is about the fact that when it comes to challenge panels, I believe there was actually like 3 different types of those challenge panels. And the first one we could actually come across into, and this what appears to be defeat all the enemies challenge. So basically, though, we have to go through 3 different phases, and then once you've done so, and then as soon as you're able to defeat all the enemies on that specific row, basically, though, you will able to miraculously try to get the Goofy Goober token. So because of that, though, for the most part, though, this particular challenge is pretty easy, but of course, much like the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom, the game will get a little bit difficult later down the road, especially concerning for the fact that, well, here's the thing, though, is about the fact that after all, we've already did manage to able to learn the first new move for Patrick anyway, and that's of course the cartwheel spin technique. And as you can tell, that basically though, in order to able to learn some more moves this time around though, is that once you do manage to able to meet up with the forms of Mindy with this particular clamshell monitor, basically what happens was though is about the fact that, well, we do need to collect a certain amount of those Goofy Goober tokens until you're able to not only get some more plot progression, but as well as from that though, just trying to learn some more moves. So generally speaking though, yeah, it feels very similar to the forms of how it does it for, let's just say, getting those specific notes in Banjo-Tooie in order to able to learn some more moves and stuff like that. Specifically brand new moves for the time. So generally speaking, it feels remarkably similar for that regard. So either way though, also, not to mention though, is about the fact that when it comes to the forms of how the fact that, also I just realized is about the fact that we no longer have pants as health and stuff like that. So instead it's now being replaced by the Krusty Krab burger, or a Krabby Patty to be more specifically. I do apologize about the fact it has been about quite a long time since I actually have watched something related to the forms of not only the SpongeBob cartoon, but as well as the forms of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, because as far as I'm aware, you know what I mean about the fact of how the whole plot actually plays out to be. Basically what happens was though is about the fact that in the beginning portion of the film, despite the fact that we have to watch the live action segment first, where it features the pirates and stuff, and somehow they've got the treasure, and they somehow get ourselves the forms of the tickets to able to actually see, of course, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie itself. And the pirates decides to able to actually pop over to the theater or the cinema screen and able to actually see the SpongeBob SquarePants onto the big screen. And then once the actual film properly starts, basically though, SpongeBob has got himself a actual dream, and he dreams about the forms of becoming a manager for the Krusty Krab itself. And basically it's about the fact that Krusty Krab was worried about the fact that there was no cheese in the Krabby Patty itself, but luckily SpongeBob got it covered. But once succeed, it turns out it was actually a dream, all thanks to the forms of this particular alarm horn, which obviously though, if you've ever seen a film already, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And during the films of In the Morning, basically though, SpongeBob was so excited about the films of the grand opening of the films of the sequel to Krusty Krab, which appears to be Krusty Krab 2. And as I said this before, it's basically a sequel to the original Krusty Krab back in the old days. So, and generally speaking, though, it's about the fact that whilst Krusty Krab 2 now exists, Plankton once again becomes jealous, and as a result though, for I can tell, he's going to be planning for Plan Z, where basically what happens was though, he was trying to able to have framed Mr. Krabs by stealing the Neptune's crown. And generally speaking, I was about the fact that it's your job. Well, we'll discuss more details about that particular topic until later on anyway, because, well, straight to the point though, we're still on the second level in the game, of course, but expected to believe about the fact that the game's length might be still felt a bit too lengthy for my liking, especially concerning for the fact that if you really want to go for a true 100% in completing this game, basically what happens was though is about the fact that we'll try our best to, well, not only trying to able to actually upgrade every single character, well, specifically both SpongeBob and Patrick in general, but it's also worth noting for us about the fact that we do need to able to not only try to collect every single treasure chest that usually unlocks certain extras in the extras menu, and there's also with the forms of the Goofy Goober tokens. So yeah, basically that was about the fact that now, for what I've heard anyway, unlike the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom, that it does have a grand total of like, let's just say 90 of those golden spatulas. I believe in this game this time around, they decided to go down a bit into, let's just say 68 of those Goofy Goober tokens this time, so no idea why they're going with that particular decision for that number. So either way, and it's time to level up the next upgrade for specifically for Patrick anyway, and as a result we can now able to do more star spin and stuff like that. So Again, I must admit though right away, I do apologize, the commentary is a little bit iffy sometimes because, well, generally speaking, it's about the fact that at this point in time, the weather temperature at this point in time is actually going to get ridiculously cold, so naturally speaking, I felt a little bit too much coziness all of a sudden, and in addition to that though, it's about the fact that I'm a little bit slightly tired today. I mean, mind you, about the fact that we've got a lot of plans to work on in regards to the films of trying to able to finishing up the majority of, 2024, and in addition to that though, just keep on practicing Sonic X Shadow Generations if we decided able to tackle for that game at some point in the future, but not in this year in particular to me though, just because we are waiting for the final thing, which appears to be, of course, the movie Shadow Skin DLC, alongside with the forms of an additional level coming up, which supposedly is going to be releasing until the 12th of December, basically. So either way though, don't tell me I messed this up. Yeah, I did mess this up, because as far as I'm aware, if you try to knock down all of those crates all in one go, without missing a single one, I believe something tells me though is about the fact that the treasure chest was actually located onto that specific spot. So, but again, I will be back for that eventually, because luckily though, much like the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom, if you did manage to able to miss out on any of those other mission objectives, you might come back into it in a future time. Basically though, you can able to actually activate the fast travel system, and basically though is about the fact that, well, for instance, it's about the fact that there are certain missions that are locked up behind specific movesets we do need to unlock, by the way, and generally speaking, I was about the fact that as soon as you're able to actually unlock specific moves, well, you can able to go back into the exact same level as before, and able to actually complete some remaining missions, in addition to, trying to collect the last few remainings of the forms of that specific treasure chests and stuff like that. So, but either way though, that'll be a topic for a later time, because, well, straight to the point, I think we get the strong sense of feeling we are now on to the end portion of the level, because, well, relatively speaking, there's the Goofy Goofer token just nearby, and also, much like the forms of how it does it on these bus stops from the likes of Battle for Bikini Bottom, you can able to switch between these two characters, except this time, in order able to switch between characters, is that you have to find those particular photo booth machines in order able to actually switch between both SpongeBob and Patrick. So yeah, that's actually a little bit different than the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom, but it functions kind of like the same. So either way though, that pretty much does it for I'm Ready Depression level, except, well, we've only got one token.
There you are, Patrick. I've been trying to find you all evening.
It's 8 in the morning, SpongeBob.
Oh my gosh, 8 o'clock. I am late for work. Mr. Krabs is gonna kill me. Oh, Mr. Krabs. Back at the Krusty Krab, King Neptune confronts Mr. Krabs about his alleged thievery. He asks if there is anyone present who may vouch for Mr. Krabs' character, and our yellow knucklehead McSpazatron shows up to accuse Mr. Krabs of being a horrible person. King Neptune zaps Mr. Krabs, causing SpongeBob to sober up quickly. He selflessly volunteers to journey to Shell City and retrieve the King's crown. Freezing Mr. Krabs in place, King Neptune grants a 6-day reprieve so SpongeBob and Patrick may attempt to retrieve the crown. King Neptune's daughter Mindy provides SpongeBob and Patrick with a magic mirror through which she can communicate and assist our heroic duo. We continue as SpongeBob and Patrick arrive at the Paddy Wagon.
And now we can go on to yet another next level, and that's what appears to be Sandwich Driving 101. Or simply, we got able to drive with the forms of the Paddy Wagon. So, pretty cool vehicle I might add, especially concerning for the fact that whenever I first saw this, whenever I see the film, basically though, I was really excited about this, and generally speaking though, yeah, I was very hungry whenever I see that particular thing in action, but enough about that particular hunger distraction. So either way, it looks like we got ourselves the driving level, so this will be interesting.
This road will take you through Bikini Bottom to the edge of town. Don't let the Paddy Wagon take too much damage, or you'll have to start again.
Our journey begins. Epic, heroic, daring, valiant, courageous.
SpongeBob, you're driving a sandwich.
Not just a sandwich, a Krabby Patty.
With cheese.
And let's get driving with the paddy wagon. So basically, in this particular stage right here, it's pretty simple. Basically, though, it's about the fact that we need to make our way to point A to point B, and that's all you have to do for this, basically. However, though, if you take about 3 damage or so, you got to restart this entire stage all over again. Although, thankfully, the first driving stage is actually very simple and self-explanatory, but of course, there might be some collectibles here and there. Like, for instance, we actually come across this particular turbo item, where basically, though, in order to use the turbo, is that you have to simply press, I would say, the R1 button in order to actually activate the boost temporarily, and as a result, there you get yourselves a nice little burst of speed. And as far as I'm aware, there's going to be a secret in here. And actually, as it turns out, there's yet another treasure chest that we can able to check out on the extras menu. So, and as far as I'm aware, though, so far we actually got 2 treasure chests so far. So generally speaking, I was about the fact that if I dare miss any of those treasure chests on the actual playthrough so far, let me know in the comments down below of where do I find those remaining treasure chests as far as I'm aware. Because, well, straight to the point though, is about the fact that the first ever version I did somehow experience, according to what Sonic did tell me this, and that's what appears to be the Game Boy Advance version, which basically though, similar to the forms of how it does it in Battle for Bikini Bottom, basically though, on the Game Boy Advance version, it plays like a 2D platformer, whilst meanwhile on the PC version, basically it's almost like an interactive kind of like investigation kind of game or something like that. Mind you, I never actually played the PC version by myself, especially concerning for the fact I felt a bit mixed feelings about it, especially concerning for the fact I'm not a big fan of the forms of how the fact that you have to find those specific stuff in order to progress or something like that. Well, I might be biased, I guess, because I'm more into like platforming and all that stuff, especially concerning for the fact that, well, fundamentally speaking, I was about the fact that if I've played the Game Boy Advance version back a long time ago, basically I did have a lot of fun with it. Well, despite the fact that obviously though, unfortunately though, we've lost the game anymore, or we've lost the game now, mainly because after the events of a lot of complications with all our movements and stuff like that, although, yeah, that'll be a topic for a later time, especially concerning for the fact that when it comes to uploading schedules alike, in regards of the forms of this game we are playing through right now, the uploading schedules department will be on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, as far as I'm usually concerned, especially concerning for the fact that at this point in time, that, as I stated before, we are almost nearly at the end of 2024, so I don't think it's possible we can able to actually do an RPG game for this year, but maybe we can able to redeem ourselves if we decided to like tackle for more RPG stuff in general when it comes to 2025 for its New Year's resolution or something. But I suppose time will tell, so either way though, oh jeez, I totally forgot about that particular water physics right there. And, yeah, suffice to say, though, there's nothing else I can really say about this particular stage to me, though, because all you have to really do is just try to find the finish line, and as a result, once you reach the finish line, then obviously we can move on to the next level. So, yeah, there we go.
You've reached the edge of town, and now you can go on to the next part of your journey. Here's your reward. Come back again if you want another driving challenge.
And suffice to say, I think we should probably end things up at this point right here. So join me next time on more of Let's Play of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, is that we're going on to the next level. So I'll see you guys until on Monday.
With the chaos of Bikini Bottom behind them, SpongeBob and Patrick begin their long journey towards Shell City. However, with SpongeBob gone, all is not well. Plankton is now selling the Krabby Patty at the Chum Bucket, and with every purchase, customers are getting a mind-controlling bucket helmet. Squidward has discovered Plankton's plan to create an army of bucket heads. Will Squidward save the day? No. On the outskirts of town, SpongeBob and Patrick meet some of the charming locals who tell them they will not last long outside the city. But our friends do not listen. They should have listened. Our heroes are now stranded in a vast desert with only their feet for transportation.